Dr. Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Allianz Partners.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday, July 15th, 2022. Look behind me. Let me tell you where we're coming from. We're coming from Southwest Harbor in Maine at Beal's Lobster Pier. That's right, lobster. We'll talk about that, of course. And you know how to get in touch with me, of course. I'll be answering all your questions. But let's get right into the news. If you hear noise behind me or you see activity, this is a working lobster pier. About 40 feet away from me, I've got the United States Coast Guard and all the lobster boats coming in. Talk about sea to table. It happens right here. But now let's talk about the rest of the news. It is still a mess in Europe. The airports are still a bigger mess, whether it's Dublin, London, Portugal, Amsterdam. It is really getting out of control. At Heathrow, they tried to limit the number of people flying out at any given day to 100,000. Normally, it's 200,000. Some of the airlines said, forget it, we're going to fly whatever we want to fly. They're charging the folks who run Heathrow with incompetence. They may have a point there. Then at Gatwick, they cut 1,000 flights, but then to add insult to injury with all the people who are still left in the terminal, a major water pipe burst, limiting to the airport to only 2 toilets. So you thought the lines at the ticket counter were long. Good luck with that. In Amsterdam, we talked about this last week. It's still in place. They first tried to limit the number of people at the terminal. That didn't work. Then they tried to limit the number of planes. That didn't work. So now the government of the Netherlands has enforced a rule. You can't sell anybody an airline ticket until the end of this month. How about that? A lot of flights then getting canceled just because of that alone. Then there's baggage. A lot of baggage being misplaced. The airlines in the first 6 months of this year misplaced, mishandled, lost, or damaged 21% more bags than they did a year ago. And to give you an idea of how many bags we're talking about, take a look at this picture. That's just the beginning. But read the story. Earlier this week, Delta Airlines sent an A330 to fly from London to Detroit. It was an empty plane, but it was full with 1,000 bags coming back to the United States. Some of these people have been waiting for weeks to get their bags. It's that crazy. Now, last week, you may remember, we talked about St. Martin and the airport in St. Martin, how crazy that airport is for either arriving or departing planes because of the approach. The approach is so low to the ground that when planes land there, they're literally clearing the runway, a fence at the runway where people can stand at about 12 feet. So people, some I might call morons, will disobey the signs that say, do not stand here because you might get blown away. I'm going to show you a video that was shot a few years ago when KLM used to fly a 747 to that airport. It was so heavy that when it came time to take off, they could only have half the passengers on board. It then flew to another location to take on everybody else. Watch this video and stay with it to see what happens to the idiots who stood by the fence. I'm laughing, but if truth be told, there have been a couple of cases where people either nearly died or one woman actually did perish as a result of that. Now, KLM is no longer flying 747s anyway, and they stopped flying 747s to St. Martin a few years back. But you may remember last week I talked about our friend Mark Wexler, the photographer. He did one of the great iconic photographs on the beach in St. Martin as a plane landed literally on top of him. And what Mark did was he timed it. He knew exactly what time the plane was coming in. He took a little beach chair out there. He ran a remote cable in the sand so nobody could see it, that he could operate. And at the precise moment, the plane was literally sitting on top of him. Here's the picture. How cool is that? I love this picture. Actually, Mark loves this picture too. I'm thanking him for sending it to us. Is that cool? Literally, that's the way it landed. And that was a 747. That was a KLM plane. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And he survived to tell that story. All right, let's get to more news now. Back to me. Okay, here we go. There is some exciting news to kind of celebrate today and some sad news to acknowledge today in the world of travel. 70 years ago yesterday, the SS United States got the Blue Riband, the medal for the fastest crossing of the Atlantic. Imagine an ocean liner that did the crossing 70 years ago. It took them only 3 days, 12 hours, and 12 minutes. That ship was going fast. In fact, that ship was going so fast, its actual speed was actually kept as a state secret because they wanted to be able to use that ship in the event of a war. Where is that ship today? It's rotting in the port of Philadelphia. There's a conservancy trying to get it refloated. Not that way, it is floating, but trying to get it reoperated and refurbished to be able to cruise again. But the point is, 70 years ago, think of the technology back then that allowed a ship of that size to travel that fast in that short a period of time crossing the Atlantic. And that was July 14th, 1952. Now let's skip ahead 2 days. July 17th, 1996. That's 26 years ago. That was TWA Flight 800. A story that I covered, a plane that broke up over where I live on Fire Island in New York, and a mystery that we think we solved. A lot of conspiracy theorists think otherwise, but that's a story I've covered many, many times. I won't get into it today, but hard to believe that was 26 years ago this weekend. All right, let's move on with some other stuff we got to talk about. Some other good news. You know, we talked about last week how the cruise industry is coming back, how they're selling so many cabins, how Regent Seven Seas put their world cruise on sale for 2025, right? Not next year, not the year after, 2025, 180-day itinerary with the cheapest cabin, so like $70,000, the most expensive cabin per person, by the way, over $200,000, and the whole cruise sold out in 1 day. Now, if that's keeping you away because of sticker shock or shicker stock, let me suggest this. There are now 2,000 cruise itineraries out there right this minute that will sell and are selling for less than $100 a day. You can't wake up in Cleveland for $100 a day. So it's still a buyer's market, a lot of capacity out there, and great bargains. And I might add that the bargains are going to last at least until March of next year. So if you're thinking of taking a cruise, wow, great opportunities right now. Okay, now a couple of possible rulemaking changes. One rulemaking change, and we talked about this before, the US DOT after the horrendous weekends of Memorial Day and Father's Day weekend and July 4th, basically trying to tell the airlines, get your schedule together or we're going to make new rules. That hasn't happened yet, but it's coming. One rule that's now happening is the DOT is saying to the airlines, a family traveling together needs to be able to sit together, especially with small kids. And you know what? Should be easy to do, right? Well, with the airlines selling seats and the upselling of seats, that means families are not necessarily sitting together. It'll be really interesting to see how the airline's going to accommodate that when they're selling so many seats ahead of time to generate extra revenue. All right, let's now go to the screen here, see what everybody has to say today. All right, Priya saying hi from Irvine. Ellen saying hi. She'll be in Maine tomorrow. All right, you're going to have a great time. I mean, look at the scene behind me. You can't beat it. As I said before, I'm at Beale's Lobster Pier. Oh, Stu is about to hand me something. Yeah, it's a lobster. Wow, it's a big lobster. How many pounds is this?
This one's going to be about
2.5 pounds. And he's happy to see me. Not. Here you go. Thank you, Stu. That was Stu Snyder, by the way, who owns this place and provider of the 2.5 pound lobster. All right, let's keep going. All right. Hello from Tanzania. Hello from Miami. Hello from, nice view. Good morning from steamy Denver. Okay. Hello, Evelyn. Let's see. Another Tanzania friend there. All right. Hello from Kentucky. Glad I'm not flying this summer. I'm right there with you, but I have to fly. Alex is saying, what do I think of the new digital nomads law just approved in Costa Rica? Well, it's not just in Costa Rica. It's happening in many countries like Barbados and other places, actually, even the Maldives, where they're changing their visa rules and their passport protocols to allow you to live and work there. Remember, we went from working from the office to working from home to working remotely to working from anywhere. And as long as they can make housing available, why not? All right, here we go. Nelson's saying hi. Mark is saying 2 weeks later, still waiting on a bag. Here we go. That got stuck in Frankfurt. Yeah, Lufthansa, really big problems with Lufthansa these days. Not just Delta. I mean, Lufthansa used to be for me the epitome of engineering and efficiency, not with bags. I have one friend of mine who's literally been waiting in LA for bags. Well, he actually was waiting for them first in Europe. They never showed up. He finally came home. He's been waiting for bags for 3 weeks, and they're finally getting them to him today. It's crazy. All right, let's keep going. Okay. Thank you, William. Okay, here we go. Someone said very impressive. Maybe that's because it's the lobster. All right, here we go. Delta had the plane in London already. Yes, they did. I'm not saying they sent the plane there. Here's what happened. Delta, like all the other airlines, were told we're cutting the number of passengers down to 100,000 a day. So they had a plane literally that they couldn't board with passengers, but they could fly it. So why not fill it with bags? And that's what they did. Okay? That's exactly what they did. Now, that doesn't mean the bags are all going to Detroit because they were belonging in Detroit. That gave Delta staff the opportunity to sort the bags in Detroit and then get them somewhere else. So the saga's not over yet. All right. Terry goes, greetings from Madison. We love Madison. The weather here has been beautiful. I'm flying to Lisbon from Chicago on TAP in September. You had reported a few months ago that getting through security customs at the airport there was a nightmare. Guess what? It is still a nightmare. Here's the problem. And it's such a simple problem to solve, except I think the governments have synchronized their stupidity. Here it comes. The Minister of Transport, that's the person who's in charge of passport and immigration control, doesn't talk to the Minister of Tourism, who's trying to get you to go there. And as a result, when you land at Lisbon, and this has happened to me 5 times in a row, there's no surprise as to what time the planes are coming in. It's called they publish a schedule. So the government knows when you're coming. It's not like a plane lands and they go, oh, we didn't know. They know. But they're not one plane that lands. There's about 6 planes that land because they're night flights from the States that land between 6 and 9 in the morning. We're talking a few thousand people. You have 25 inspection stations at the Lisbon airport, 2 of which are manned. Friends of mine have been in line there for up to 4.5 hours. Talk about a bad welcome to a country. And it's the exact same problem when people are leaving the country. When I asked the Minister of Tourism, what are you doing about it? You know what she said to me? Well, that's not my area. It is your area. Guys, get it together. It's called a telephone. Pick it up, talk to the other minister, realize Houston, you have a problem. Or Lisbon, you have a problem. All right. So the answer to your question is it's still a nightmare. Now, the good thing about it is you're going in September. September, usually travel drops off. You'll have a somewhat better experience. But if they still don't man those inspection stations, it's an accident waiting to happen again. Okay. Jane says she just left Bar Harbor yesterday. Well, you should have told me. Okay. Hi from the Adriatic, says Lisa. Oh, you made it. Okay. Lynn says hello from rainy Chicago. All right. Emmanuel's saying, watching from, okay, Dodoma. That's right. The official capital of Tanzania. All right. Hi from California. And let's see who else is saying hi here. Got it. Tanzania again. Okay. Someone writes in, my teacher and his wife died on TWA 800. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. And the real story is this. On July 7th, and I covered that story. On July 17th, 1996, a day I remember well, it was about 97 degrees in New York at Kennedy. that particular plane had come in from Athens, and it had landed, and it was fighting headwinds, so it had used almost all of its fuel. There was some fuel left in the center fuel tanks, but it knew they were flying. They knew they were flying it back to Paris, and but because they had tailwinds, they didn't have to fill all the tanks. Right, weight is a critical factor in all aviation. So they filled what they needed to fill and gave them alternate fuel as well in case they needed it. However, it was so hot on the ground at Kennedy that day that the temperature inside those fuel tanks was about 15 degrees above what they call the flash point. That's the point at which, if there's an ignition source, that fuel will explode. Now, normally when you have full fuel tanks, there's no ignition source, there's no oxygen. Well, in this particular case, the tanks were not full. In this particular case, it was a 21-year-old airplane. In this particular case, the electric wires that were bundled inside those fuel tanks had been corroded a little bit by the corrosive nature of the fuel. And in the process, the outer insulation had been stripped a little bit, exposing some wire. And when the plane took off that night, the flight engineer realized that they had filled more of the fuel on the left side than on the right side. It was a simple fix. You turn the fuel pumps on and pump fuel from the left tank to the middle tank, and then from the middle tank to the right tank. And at about 6,000 feet, they started that process. No problem pumping it from the left tank to the center tank, which was really empty. And when they went to pump it from the center tank to the right tank, one of the wires arced, flash point hit, and that's when the plane exploded. A terrible story. Nobody ever expected they needed inspections of fuel tank wires at the 21-year level, because no plane was really expected to fly at those days at that level. There was no maintenance protocol for that. I guarantee you there is now. All right. Cindy's saying hello from New York. Okay. There we go. TWA 800 always hits our hearts. Was part of the care team at JFK. Yes. I was back there for that as well. For those people who understand JFK, when you drive into the terminal to the right, there used to be a Ramada Inn. They changed the name in recent years, but that's what it used to be called. And within the airline circles, not the most particularly sensitive title, they used to call it the Crash Hotel, because when Swiss Air 111 went down in Canada, when you had Egypt Air 990 that went down, and then of course the TWA 800 flight, that's where they headquartered for the families of the victims, for the response workers as well. What a somber scene inside that hotel. All right, let's keep going. All right, moving right along. Colleen says, we'll be heading to Europe in next May, but it looks like Europe will require a non-visa travel permit to visa then to permit to travel then, excuse me. Should we travel in April instead? No, go in May. You can start applying for that visa now. I have no idea why they did it. It's only going to cost you about $7 to $10. It's another piece of paperwork you're going to have to show at the departure gate before you get on your plane to Europe, but just get the paperwork done now. By the way, my prediction is they'll get rid of it by the time you're ready to go, but at least if they do require it, you'll have it, okay? All right. Cheryl says, oh, hello, Cheryl Briesmeister. She says the lobster looks yummy. It is. By the way, they do a lot of lobster here. They call it, by the way, the lobster pier, get it? When I'm finished today, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm going to have one. Not the one I held up. That's a little too much for me, but I am going to have some. All right. All right. My friend Eddie says 3 more days on the A nonstop JFK to Barcelona. I have been tracking the flight the last 2 weeks. It has been looking great. Hopefully it stays that way. I'm right there with you. It's not the flight to Barcelona that worries me. It's the flight from Barcelona back, right? And make sure, by the way, if you're checking bags, and this applies to all of you, don't depend on the tag the airlines give you. It falls off. What you want to do is put your own tag on the outside, only list your phone number or your email address, not your home address. And then on the inside of the bag, get a big piece of masking tape and a very bold magic marker, write your name and phone number and email address on that. Because if the outer tags get ripped off, there's no other way for them to find you until they open up the bag and go, oh, that's who it is, okay? By the way, you can buy some bag trackers. You can get one from Amazon or from Apple for about $29. That works if you have an Apple device. There's even one from a company called Gego, G-E-G-O. It's more expensive, but it works on any internet system around the world based on their systems. And it's about $90 to get it and $14 a month. But the beautiful thing about that bagging system tracking service is that you can actually pick up the phone and tell the airline exactly where your bag is. You're not waiting for some guy named Vern in a warehouse in Oxnard to start looking, okay? All right. Patricia Bradley says, love the lobster, okay. Everybody love the lobster. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm looking here. All right, here's one from Jerry. Says, all right, good seeing you online. There's a company called Gateway Beach International out of Cancun who are robocalling you saying they're Costco Travel or Sheraton or Hilton offering great travel deals, but they only offer on the phone. Scamorama, Jerry. Scamorama. Anytime you're offered a travel deal online, it's usually a bad timeshare presentation or they want your credit card. They'll steal logos. They'll steal, from Hilton or from Hyatt or, as you say, from Sheraton. And you know what? If they're not going to give you a number to call back or the name, the first name or last name of the person calling with a callback number, you know what you do? You give them the, let's not get vulgar. Just hang up the phone. All right, let's keep going. My friend Rob New in Colorado. Hey, Rob. Always nice to see you, either online or here. All right, Patricia's saying hi from South Florida. Robert Watson, Mr. Concierge himself, calling from Washington, D.C. For those of you who don't know what Clay Door means, Robert Watson knows, and I know. Those are the guys with the gold keys behind the concierge desk. They're your new best friend anywhere you go in the world. They literally know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and they can make magic happen. Nice to see you, Robert. Liz Leitner, howdy from this year's International Climbers Festival in Lander, Wyoming. Oh my goodness, I know, you guys are real climbers. Okay, who else is saying hi? All right, here we go. Okay, Mr. Stokey saying, or Miss Stokey saying, going to Portugal via Madrid, November 3rd, taking carry-on only. Do you anticipate international travel to be better then? Well, November's not bad. November's not bad. It's going to be better by omission, not necessarily by design. By the way, let me give you the trivia question for today. For those of you who believe that airline food is an oxymoron, and in most airlines it is, assuming they even have food, here's the question for you, all right? A couple of airlines actually pay attention to food, and I've been in the kitchens of Singapore Airlines in Singapore, and you know what? They're cooking a lot of stuff to order. It's unbelievable, but here's the question. Are you ready? Here it comes. Tell me this. How much money does Singapore Airlines spend on food a year? Okay, how much money does Singapore Airlines spend on food a year? And while you're at it, how much money they spend on wine? All right, see if you get it. How much money they spend on food and how much money they spend on wine. Let's see who wants to guess that. All right, Lisa's saying hi from Simi Valley. Okay, okay, thank you for saying that. You say you're reporting saved me from a planned trip to Atlanta via New York. I will wait, maybe September. Look, September has always been the magic month. It's always been the magic month. Kids are back in school. People are back at work. The weather's great in most parts of the world. This year especially. And the reason for that is, one more thing. Remember, we're not traveling this summer because we want to travel. We're traveling because we need to travel. It's part of our cultural DNA. We will not be denied. But what happens in September? You're going to get your credit card statements for what you spent on travel in the summer of 2022. And when you get yourself up off the floor from that sticker shock, most of you are going to make a decision, okay, I'm done for travel for the rest of 2022. Forward-looking bookings are going to go off a cliff, and all of a sudden, airline schedules will stabilize, airfares come down, and if you have some frequent flyer miles lying around that you've been unable to redeem, that's the time to do it. So mark my words, starting in about a month from today, start looking online before you have the conversations that I've told you to have, just to start comparing prices for flights and hotels and other parts of the travel infrastructure after September 15th. All right, here we go. Uh, okay. Okay. Someone's traveling to Lisbon in January. Had hoped to visit Porto and then northern Spain. Didn't realize train transport is practically non-existent. Yeah, Portuguese trains leave a lot to be desired. Spanish trains are pretty cool. So in northern Spain, you can get some trains. But you know what? The flights are not long. They do operate. They're not overly expensive. That's what I do. All right. And if you're going to Porto, not because I just happen to love this restaurant, but I'll share it with you. You want to go to a restaurant called 1756. Unbelievable food in Porto, and order the salmon tataki. And mark my words, you'll order it once and you'll order a second order. And when you do that, let me know. Okay. Here's one from Karen. It says, I just came back from Italy. Where is that? Okay. Just came back from Italy and Spain, flying on Delta. All flights went well with only a 15-minute delay on 2 of the 3 flights. Received 2 emails of apology from Delta over those 15-minute delays. And they gave me 30,000 air miles. 30,000, that's 15 per delay. Wait a second. Where are my miles? Good for you, Karen. Wow. And look, hats off to Delta for at least acknowledging responsibility. All right, Jew is back in Japan again. Okay, Karen has meant to say it's Karen from Oceanside. Okay. Cheers from Tucson, says Camilla. Simon is saying, greetings from Nairobi. My good pal, David Burnett, who's been struggling to get over to getting over to Scandinavia. Well, earlier this week, as you know, 2 things happened. The pilots at SAS, the Scandinavian Airlines, went on strike. And right before that happened, SAS actually filed for bankruptcy protection in New York State Court. That doesn't mean they're not operating, but because of the pilot strike, for all intents and purposes, on their long-haul flights, they're not operating. And David wasn't able to get over to his Fjords cruise. One of the great photographers of the century, Mr. David Burnett. Now I've made Mark Wexler jealous because I said he was a great photographer too. You guys can duke it out. Okay, here we go. Anybody answering the trivia question yet? All right. Jonathan Acton. Okay, he's trying to one-up me with lobster. He said he had lobster at the Connecticut Maritime Association summer lobster dinner. Not as good as Maine. Yep, you're right. Look, lobsters love cold water. Here we are, right? Yep. But Jonathan loves the Maine oysters. Also great. All right. So now here's the question I asked again. How much does Singapore Airlines spend on airline food every year, and how much do they spend on wine? Okay, nobody's even close. Wow, nobody's even close. Okay, people are guessing $30 million a year on food. Nope. The answer, are you ready? I'll let you guess a few more. But that so far, all the answers that are coming in are wrong. I'll wait. Who wants to give me an answer? Remember, how much do they spend a year? I'll give you a hint. How much do U.S. airlines spend on food per passenger? Now, I'll divide it between first class and coach. The answers might surprise you there, too. The most a U.S. airline spends on food per passenger in first class is about $7.20, right? The most they spend on a coach passenger might be $1.85 to $2. That's it, right? And that's assuming they're offering food. And what I mean by food, I mean a hot meal, not these. Hold on. You know what I'm about to show you. These. Delta may have given you 30,000 miles for being 15 minutes late. I got these on my flight to Maine. Yay. And I saved them. The famous, the Biscoffs. All right. Anybody still want to guess on food? Okay. I'm waiting. Okay. Anna's saying 70 million. Anna, I'll give you a hint. Not even close. All right. Nobody's got it. Oh, Jonathan Acton says 6 million. Jonathan, I'm losing respect for you. You should know better than that. It's much more than that. It's more than a lot than that. I can't tell you yet. I'm waiting for some more guesses. Nobody's got it. All right. I'll tell you. Singapore Airlines spends on food per year $700 million. Now, how much they spend on wine? Nobody? Okay. 16 million. There you have it. All right. 700 million on food, 16 million on wine. All right. Pretty cool? All right. How much does Southwest Airlines spend on food a year? I used to be able to say peanuts. Now it's snack mix. All right, let's go. Oh, they are doing a better job of their food service for what it is on Southwest on their long haul flights between the mainland and Hawaii, but still nowhere near what other airlines spend on food. And one of the reasons is, are you really expecting food on Southwest? See, the beauty of the Southwest approach is that your expectations are you're getting a seat. It may be the middle seat next to the two sumo wrestlers, but the plane is going to be on time, the fare is going to be okay, and you don't have to pay for check bags. And you know what? I'll take that proposition any day, right? Anybody here who bases their airplane choice or their airline choice on food is delusional with a capital D. But some airlines do a better job than others. Singapore happens to be one of them. All right, let's go to the photo of the week. Let's mount it up there. Anybody want to guess where this is? No? I'm waiting. Where is it? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Hard to believe, that's Scotland. In fact, it was along the Great Glen Way in Scotland. And of course, the winner, Jean Noor, I believe her pronunciation is Haris. Jean took a great photograph there with her girlfriends not too long ago. And it's a view of the Viewcatcher, which is on the high road of the Great Glen Way in Scotland, 79-mile trail. So, Jean, nice job. If you think you've got a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Peter at petergreenberg.com. Send it in, and we'll post it right here. All right. I got a couple of wows when Jonathan found out how much Singapore Airlines spends on food. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, let's go to some of your other questions that you asked. Here's one from Rose. Hi, I just booked flights through Celebrity from May of 2023 for a cruise. It was so cheap that I'm now worried. Remember what I said about being under $100 a day? Miami, JFK, Amsterdam, return Barcelona, Madrid, Miami, $320 per person, flying Delta and Iberia, hoping I can upgrade seats when ticketed. Hey, you've already been given the upgrade. That's a great price. Hard to match it. Katie said, if I had about a month to spend in either France or Italy in November, where would I go? Looking for a smaller city town home base with lots of day trips by train. Well, if you're going to be in Paris, you go to one of the train stations and head out to the Loire Valley. That's where you go. Or you do the opposite and you head to Western France out near Saint-Nazaire, and you'll have a great time there as well. All right. Brooke says, or if you really want to do it, take the train at night from, I think it's Gare du Nord, I'm pretty sure it is, and go from Paris all the way to Nice. But keep going, either Villefranche or Monaco. You will not be disappointed in November. Brooke, Virgin Atlantic is holding hundreds of pieces of lost luggage hostage somewhere in London. No updates, nothing but the runaround. Can you please check this out? What can be done? Here's the problem. They don't have the staff to process your request, let alone the staff to look for your bag. This is exactly what every airline is going through now in London. Here's a tip for people who are flying through London from this day forward, and the airlines will not tell you this. What's the minimum connect time for you if you're connecting a flight through London? For you, it's officially listed as 3 hours. What's the minimum connecting time for your bags? They don't tell you this. It's 4 hours. So you better give yourself at least a 4-hour connect time, or you make your connection and your bags are somewhere in a basement at Heathrow. Okay. And that's even before the pandemic, I might add. All right. Colleen says, I'm not exactly clear on what the new ETIAS is exactly. What it is, It's a sort of a visa waiver form to allow you to travel in Europe starting in May of next year. I have no idea why they put this in, other than maybe as a revenue generator, but you're going to need it, at least at this point, starting in May of next year if you're going to go to Europe. And you can fill it out online. You'll be able to do that. But you're going to have to show it at the gate before you get on your plane. Okay. Okay. Would you visit? This is from Janine. Would I visit Lisbon and the Algarves over Barcelona and Spain beaches? Well, I'm biased. I love Portugal. I really do. And what I particularly like is in the Algarve, not Faro and not Albufeira. I love a small, it used to be a little bit smaller than it is now. I still love it. Lagos. It's a small fishing village, well worth the trip. Okay. From David, Peter, my wife are ready to purchase airfare to Europe for a trip we planned out for September. Here we go, September. She is thinking we should book our airfare today, being it's on Tuesday and no later than 3 p.m. Pacific time. Is that old rumor true? It's no longer true. That rumor doesn't exist anymore. That went out about 2 years ago. And it really almost applied to U.S. airline flights within the U.S. Right now, if you want to book in September, I've been telling you this about the magic month of September, especially to Europe. Book it after September 8th. Wait about another week from now, right? So you're inside of about a 54-day window, and you might be surprised at how those fares start coming down day by day. All right, here's one from Linda. Hi, from Naples, Florida, going to Egypt at the beginning of November, then heading to Amman mid-November from Cairo. When should I book my air? Everything is booked except the flight from Cairo to Amman. Well, that's the easy part. The flight from Cairo to Amman is about an hour. Those flights are not going to increase in cost unless you're going over a particular religious holiday. I'm not worried about it. Right now, if you're not going till what, mid-November, book it mid-October. Mike says I'm doing a split trip to Europe, first part to London, then to Mykonos. I plan to book direct flights and use Apple AirTags to track my luggage. We just talked about that. If I'm on the plane and don't see my baggage loaded, should I get off? Well, here's what you do. You're not going to be looking out the window to look and see if your bags are loaded. No. What you're going to do is before you get on the plane at the counter, ask the gate agent there if they can check on their screen to see that your bags were scanned with the barcode and that they're on the plane. That's the best way to do it. Okay? I hope that helps. All right. Let's scroll down here one more time. Okay. I'm looking here. Looking. Someone just guessed Southwest Airlines spends $12.9 billion on food in your dreams. Okay. $12.9 billion. Not even close. All right, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna have lobster. I'm going to lunch. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for our Facebook Live. Facebook Live next week will be coming from, anybody want to guess? Nobody's guessing. All right. We're going to tell you it's coming from New York. It'll be a week from today. But right now, between now and then, I'll be in 3 other cities. So happy traveling. Watch your check bags. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's hope the air traffic situation gets better. It can't get any worse. And of course, Travel Detective Season 7 on the air now, also available on Amazon.com, Amazon Prime, I should say, and Apple TV Plus. Our other show, Royal Tour of Tanzania, is still on the air and also on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. I want to thank Stu Snyder and the folks here at the Beals Lobster Pier for providing the lobster. And of course, I'm now going to have some. Have a great weekend, guys. Be safe.